Hello everyone, Silent here, and welcome back to another episode of Truly Bedrock Season 2. I hope you're doing great today. In the previous episode, we set up these two massive mob farms and got them fully functional and up and running. As you can see, we're getting a little bit of drops from them right now and a little bit of experience as well. But all we got is this temporary storage, which is kind of getting full of all these non-stackable items. But we're not worried about that right now. Right at the beginning of today's episode, I would like to install more of the, preliminary decoration for the base. If you didn't see the end of the last episode, then all of these helixes and the giant spirals might be a little bit new to you, but we are going to be expanding upon that right at the start of today's episode. So as you can see, we got two spirals in place right now. We have one right there, that's a manufactured spiral using a spiral generator, and then on the opposite side we have a hand-built spiral that I kind of just free-handed, and that was like a first try, first time spiral building. Honestly, it didn't turn out like super terrible. Obviously it's a little bit rough, but I'm quite happy with it. Regardless of that though, we're actually gonna tear this completely out because we don't want this anymore. So we're gonna build up all four of the manufactured spirals to connect all four of the iron farms to the underside of the squid farm. And once all four of those are in place, this area should start looking really decent. So a lot has happened since the intro of this episode. I've done a little bit of work off camera, and that means that we have a huge expansion to the decoration of our base. As you can see, we got the large spiral going around the outer edges completely done. We got the four spirals up top installed, and then we got a couple of the smaller circles around the bottom edges as well. There's not really like a good place to stand and look at the base. It's just very hard to look at the space in general, not only because the netherrack acts like sandpaper on your eyes, but also because like it's just difficult to look at. But I got this little spot by this temporary janky nether portal to stand and look at it. So you can see that we got the full spiral arms installed. Those are looking really fine. And then we got the lower giant circle installed as well, including a couple of smaller circles to tie it all together and act like chain links kind of. So that's what those two circles right there do. And obviously all of this is very temporarily built out of a netherrack. We built it out of netherrack just because it's really easy to tear out in case we mess something up or we decide that we don't like it. So very soon, maybe even a little bit in today's episode, we're going to be swapping out all of this netherrack for the permanent blocks. Think of this as like the scaffolding that you would use to build like your proper build with. So yeah, all of this is gonna get ripped out. Don't worry about it looking all disgusting like it currently does. And here is the current overview look of the base. As you can see, it is kind of coming together. Again, it's very hard to look at, but those spiral arms I think are gonna really tie the whole thing together, especially the iron farms to the squid farm. And now it is time to do some more work on this thing. So I want to get in all of the additional little circles on the edges. So we're supposed to have more of these little chain link circles going around on all the cardinal directions to tie the massive 120 diameter circle into the little 58 diameter circle there on the middle. So I gotta install 6 more of those circles, and then I also want to install the little spiral that's gonna be going directly underneath the squid farm that we have here. Now the spiral that is in the very center of this is supposed to be tying together all of the helixes and also these spirals as well. So all of these spirals are going to connect together to those helix ends, and then it's all going to spiral together directly into the center of that 2x2. It should look pretty cool once it's done, but I need to install some more netherrack just to get the shapes of it down before we do the final decorations of it. So let me get some more work done. So hopefully you just saw a nice little time lapse of some of the building that has happened in this area. And yeah, we've done a lot more since the last clip yet again, because I am officially a builder person. I guess, I think. My zooms aren't working. Hold on, technical difficulties. Give me just like 3 seconds. Start that program, start that program. I'm a builder person! Yay! So yeah, lots of things are coming together now. You can see that we added the little bulb circle thingies on the corners of the Guardian Farm. Those are looking pretty alright. And then we got the double circles on all sides of the main ring as well. So that's looking pretty solid. It just so happens that this thing is perfectly positioned so that one of these circles goes all the way around it and it doesn't interact with it at all. It's great. So that's all done. And I've realized a couple of things when it comes to this build. First of all, these circles all need to be raised up by a block because we need to have a floor going all the way above the ocean monument all the way at this layer, which means that the circles need to be a block above it to actually stand out and look decent and not just be like part of the floor essentially. And then we also need to do another thing. I forgot what the second thing was. It'll come to me later, I'm sure. Oh yeah, that's right. I remembered what the second thing was. We installed the spiral on the underside of the squid farm. So if we fly over here for a second, you can kind of see that. And yeah, that's a freehand spiral actually. It's looking pretty decent. I tried to use a spiral generator, but they were a little bit too wide and they were going outside the bounds of the helixes. But now all 4 of those spiral arms perfectly wrap around to the center. They don't breach the perimeter of the helixes, which is a very good thing. And overall, those do look pretty decent. Now, we actually need to change up the height of these spirals and the helixes as well. So, essentially, we need to have an additional layer of blocks right here, simply to hide these redstone blocks. We knew that going into this build, and then that means that we need to lower down these spirals by a block, and that means that we need to raise up the large spirals by 2 blocks. That way, these spirals are at the same layer as that spiral right there, and do we need to raise it by 2 blocks? We need to raise these by a block and lower that by a block, and then they'll be right there in the middle, and it will be beautiful. Obviously, we have a lot of things to do going forward with this build, but it is honestly coming together pretty steadily and pretty amazingly. I'm very happy that we're able to mark out these things with a temporary structure first. That is going to make the decoration of this entire build so much easier once we figure out how to decorate it. Now, speaking of decoration, I know you guys aren't terribly interested in it, but it is a pretty important part of the base. So I've been trying to work out a couple of different design ideas for the circles that are going to be going absolutely everywhere. So for the main outer circle, I got like 3 different ideas that are going on over here. The first one is this guy right here with the prismarine bricks along the edges, some blue glass, quartz slabs in the middle with sea lanterns underneath that, because we gotta have some light, and then that would basically go all the way around the place. This is honestly pretty alright. I mean, it's fine. It's just kind of a prototype. However, I don't like that it has prismarine on the top of it. I much prefer the look of the black stone on top of it. I think that really adds a lot to it. And then I'm kind of really liking that we keep the quartz in the middle as well. As you can see with this one, I put sea lanterns along the edges. It just doesn't really look good, and there's no real way to fix it going along the edges. Like, I tried adding slabs here, and that just doesn't really do it either. So there's not really a good solution to that. But what I did find out was that if you use blackstone slabs across the top with an upper prismarine brick slab underneath that, that does actually look pretty decent. I tried it with the full blocks, and something about it doesn't really look that great, but the double slabs, that kind of has something going for it. Now, we still need to figure out a way of including light in this build because we're not going to have sea lanterns going directly down the middle, so I'm not sure exactly how to do that. We could do the slabs and then sea lanterns underneath that, And that's kind of a solution, but then you can see the sea lanterns underneath there and it doesn't look that great, so not really like a great solution, to be honest. I mean, I guess there's always the option of just tearing out the glass entirely and then putting in your sea lanterns on the edges, but that isn't really the greatest either. That's just like too bright. I definitely prefer the glass. Now, I guess something that we could do, and this wouldn't really be like a super easy thing to do, but every time we have a transition edge where like it goes and shifts a block to the side, we could include a sea lantern right there on the edges, and that would significantly limit the amount of sea lanterns that we have and only add them to the corner transition areas, which could look kind of decent. So let me throw all those ideas together into one kind of pathway, and we'll see what we end up with. So something like that is about what I'm thinking, going all the way around the big circle. That is going to be a lot of materials, and the difficult part to get out of this entire build is really just going to be the blackstone. We'll have to use the Pico Trader a lot. We're farming the quartz, we're farming the prismarine, and we can get ourselves a bunch of sand. But yeah, this is kind of like what it would look like. Now, I haven't actually added the sea lanterns to this yet, so we would add a sea lantern basically right there. We would add one right there, and then we might even add one in like this corner as well, just for some additional lighting and just to see what it looks like more or less. So we would have some sea lanterns going along. They would kind of be like a diagonal and kind of catty corner, which does look a little bit more interesting. Let me know what you guys think about these build ideas in the comment section below. And if you have any additional ideas for how to make these look better or ways to expand this into something greater, then of course let me know. I'm fully open to all kinds of feedback and ideas and constructive criticism, so let me know what you got. I started to replace some of the netherrack around this area with the quartz slabs for the centers, and I'm thinking if we expand these pathways to be 5 wide, then that essentially means that they're going to be like the same width as the main pathways, going all the way around the edge of the area. So maybe we should expand these ones to be a total of 7 wide instead of 5 wide, and I actually kind of built a prototype of what that might look like over here. So over here we have some sea lanterns down the middle, quartz to either side, and then the glass on the edges, and then our slabs doubled up again, kind of like that. Now, I'm not entirely sure how well I like this. I think we could probably get away with just doing the one quartz line down the middle. But you see, if we do one quartz line down the middle, then that means that we have 2 glass lines to either side of it, which I suppose is fine. I don't really see like a huge issue with that. And then we would continue to put the sea lanterns in the corners over here like so. And you know what? I guess that is actually kind of nice, isn't it? Yeah, I kind of like that a lot better than the sea lanterns in the middle. Yeah, I really like the 7 wide design a lot better than the 5 wides. And honestly, just having like glass walkways, it does look kind of nice and modern and futuristic. So I am a fan of it. So I'm thinking what we're going to do is for the entire giant circle going all the way around the edge of the base, the 120 diameter, the big boy, that one's going to have 7 wide walkways going all the way around. And then for these smaller inner circles, those will have like 5 wide walkways, and then it'll get increasingly smaller as you move towards the center. So like this one right here might be like a 3 wide walkway, and then you get to these rings, and maybe this one will be 3 wide, or maybe we'll just keep these 2 circles as 1 wides. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work out. We will figure that out when the time comes, but yeah, that's kind of the idea. We are slowly figuring out exactly what's going to happen bit by bit. I went ahead and expanded a little bit of the build so that we can kind of get a better idea of what we're in for. And as you can see, we have some very nice looking things. I'm actually quite liking how this is turning out so far. So I still have the 5 wide walkway over here on the outer edge. This will eventually be expanded to 7 wide. And then we have the 5 wide walkways for the inner circle here that you can see, looking pretty decent. I was considering keeping these like bridges going across down the middle of the circles, but I'm not sure about these. We might have these, we might not. I'm a little bit unsure of what's going gonna happen. But I guess this is what it would look like if it was just empty. You would be able to look down, see the farm, see if it was running. Another idea I've had to add some height and some depth and some variation to this base is actually raising up all 3 of these middle circles. So this entire outer ring and these kind of like doubled circles right here, these are all going to be at this layer, and then this ring needs to be raised up at least 1 block so that we can have a floor here. So this ring is going to be at this layer, and then maybe we could raise up that ring by 2 blocks so that it would be at that layer right there. And then maybe the innermost ring could be raised up by 3 blocks so that it's at this layer right here. And that would basically give us 4 different layers of circles and rings going around the base, which would add a lot of height variation and just a lot of difference to the base. And it could actually look pretty alright, all things considered, so it might be fun. The only really complicated bit of doing this idea is making the floor transition from 3 different heights, and yeah, I do not know how to do that. Oh yeah, this is gonna be looking really, really good once it's all completed and filled in. Just replacing some of the netherrack with the quartz slabs has made an absolute world of difference. Look at that. It is so much better than the netherrack. Oh, I'm very excited for this now. But moving on from the decoration, we have a lot more technical projects that we're going to be doing in this area, as you might be aware. So we have like an entire underside of the base that we haven't even started working on yet. The above part of the base is more or less done. Of course, we got the squid farm, and the mob farms, and the iron farms, and the kelp farms, and the bamboo farms, and the guardian farms. But we're going to be going downwards and expanding into a ton of stuff. Real quick before we head down there, I do want to show you the map that we made of the area. As you can see, it's actually looking pretty stellar. I really like how this is turning out, honestly. So you can see the tops of the mob farms there. Those aren't particularly well decorated as of yet. You can see the squid farm, and then the spiral arms are also in place as well. And conveniently, the spiral arms basically go all the way around and more or less meet up with the edge of the outermost circle. There's like, you know, 120 blocks and height variation between the spirals and the circle, but it does line up pretty well. Oops, there goes my map. It's down there now. We'll get that later. But yeah, look at this dude. That looks a lot better on a map. The scale model over there is kind of killing it. Like, that thing looks pretty cool on the map over here, doesn't it? That's honestly quite interesting. It's kind of a mess of blocks, but it's an interesting mess of blocks. I went ahead and turned these into the locked variation of the map. That way we can look at this base later on in like maybe a couple weeks or a couple months with a new set of maps, and we can see how much progress has been made. Okay, so back to talking about the underside of the base. This area down here is going to have a lot of stuff built in it, but first we need to completely excavate it. So I'm not planning on doing literally anything at all inside of the ocean monument. I have no ideas, no plans, and no real reason to do anything inside of there. So that's just going to be completely left as is. It's a nice little fish habitat. It's basically just like a fish bowl. But this area down here leaves us with 32 blocks vertical room that we can do a lot of stuff with. Now, the ocean monuments are 58 by 58. However, they have these 4 wide pillars on all sides of them, which leaves us with a nice 50 wide by 50 wide area on the inside that we can do a lot of things with. So if we go ahead and excavate this entire area, we can turn this into a massive storage system area. We can put our super smelters down here. We can put our bulk storage for all the different farms down here. And we can also build like 3 slime farms in this area, because I believe there are 3 slime chunks. There might only be 2, but regardless, we're gonna have some slime farms. Just finishing mining out the area, and we actually have a lot of room to work with. It might not sound like a ton, but 50 by 50 should be more than enough for almost every project that I got planned for this area. And also it's going to be like a 32 block tall area as well. So we should have plenty of area for various different projects, various different builds, technical things, and we might even be able to fit in like some crop farms, villager powered of course, and maybe even like some fully automated ones. And really, I'm kind of running out of different farms to build. We pretty much got all of them at this point. I mean, I guess maybe we could do like some netherwort farms or some potion brewers or things like that just to fill the area. It's a bit difficult to see the full extent of this area, but I think it'll be just about big enough for all of our projects, and it also goes down all the way to this area, and we might even do like one of those bedrock floors with like the layered black glass for the fog effect. I'm not sure, but I got some interesting ideas kind of rolling around in my brain, so we'll see what this area turns into once we start get building. I think in the next couple of episodes, we're gonna try to clear out this entire area, maybe get in some foundations of some additional tech, and then of course, while we're doing all of that, we're going to be slowly but surely decorating the top side of the main base. I still have no idea how I'm going to be actually decorating the large spirals going around the base, or how I'm going to decorate the helixes, or how I'm going to decorate these small spirals on the insides, or the underside of the squid farm, or really just about most of the things in this entire base. But I suppose we will figure it out bit by bit, portion by portion, and the base will slowly come together over time. I'm kind of hoping that in like the next 2 to 3 episodes, we can have it all completely finished and good to go, because once you figure out a small portion of it, building the rest of it really doesn't take that much time. I'm very excited to see this area come together bit by bit each episode. It's honestly quite fun. I'm really enjoying it. And honestly, like, just getting into building more is quite good for me, and I'm liking it, so hopefully you guys are enjoying these episodes still as well. But that is basically gonna do it for today's video. I hope that you have greatly enjoyed. If you have, of course, make sure to leave a like on the episode. It helps out the channel and the videos an absolute ton, so thank you so very much for doing that. If you're new here, then consider subscribing so you don't miss a future episodes on the channel, and otherwise I'll see you guys down in the comment section and in the next one. Thank you again so much for watching, and then there was silence.